President? Well, the last 6 months have been interesting, embarrassing at times, but I really do think today is seeing a new low bar being set. It is just extraordinary, both from Question Time and some of the contributions that have been made by those now in government, where they are in almost denial of a cost of living crisis, that the Assistant Minister, or Assistant Treasurer I should say, has now declared that the RBA is going to stop raising interest rates, so the crisis is over. No need to look here. The constant blaming, whining, carry on, looking back to the past, passing the buck as Australians continue to feel the pinch more and more every single day. I think it is really time for those opposite to grow up, understand they're in government, that means actually making decisions that are going to be better for Australians, not worse. Obviously that memo got missed because every single Australian since the Albanese government has come to power is now worse off. And the tax cuts under stage 3 that were legislated, they're almost, not quite, almost at Voldemort's status, like the 275, the number that shall not be named. They're not quite at Voldemort's status, but they are getting very, very close, because we know 97 times we were told power bills are going to go down by $275, where we know they're going to go up, and they're probably going to go up by more than $275. So the stage 3 tax cuts are going to be so required for all those tradies that are going to see almost $2,000 on 80,000, almost $2,000 back in their pocket each year, because they're going to need it, because their mortgages have gone up 8 times since this Labor government came to power. Now, if you compare that to the Liberal government, where there was 1 increase, we now have interest rates and a cash rate that are the highest it's been in 10 years. But we're not seeing this government pull any policy levers that are moving towards reducing inflation, because every step they take, every move they make, they are making a bad situation worse. I know I could be a little lyricist there, Senator Scarr, but every time they make a decision, they're making the situation worse. We've got these Frankenstein energy legislation that came in last year that everyone, including the ACCC, has said time and time and time again, this is going to push up power prices. Well, guess what, guys? That contributes to inflationary pressures, which then leads to the RBA taking action on interest rates. There is actually some rhyme and reason to why these things occur. They do follow suit. And this new carbon tax, because we know the Labor Party is just obsessed with the carbon tax, and now proposing one at 3 times the level that the Gillard government tried to legislate and pull into place. The impact that that's going to have, I just am amazed that those in government are absolutely, completely unaware the impact this is going to have on businesses, on manufacturing. Look around this building. We're all sitting in a building here. It's got an awful lot of concrete in it. Concrete uses a product called clinker to be produced. It is about to all go offshore, because if this carbon tax comes into place, there will be no Australian cement manufacturers. That means we lose our sovereignty, we put ourselves at risk. One of the most common products that's used in every building, every road, how are you going to get over a river? It was put to me yesterday when we were looking at some of this stuff. How do you build a bridge? Well, we know that they don't want to build some of that stuff if it's in a Liberal seat or in Mayo, but others will still want to build things. And you're about to implement a carbon tax that is going to send all of this manufacturing offshore. We're talking about hundreds of jobs are going to be lost, and it is going to increase the cost of absolutely everything. And that's just one industry. We also know that this new gas supply issues are seeing investments go offshore, and there is a high likelihood we're going to see blackouts this year. And this is something that's going to have ramifications for decades, as investment is leaving this country. It is going elsewhere, because those in the resources sector know that this government now cannot be trusted to put policy settings in place that allow them to safely invest in Australia and continue to grow our nation.
Senator O'Neill.
Thank you, Acting Deputy President. And I'm somewhat taken aback by the rhetoric of those who find themselves now in opposition. It is an urgency motion, but I note that they had a decade in office, which can only be described as a decade of wasted opportunities and warped priorities, that left Australians, who now this opposition seem to think they should stand up for, but left Australians with falling real wages, cost of living pressures and $1 trillion of debt without an economic dividend to show for it. So any claim that they make in this argument about being good managers of money and good with the economy has to be absolutely seen for what it is, an attempt to continue the con of the last 10 years. I rise in particular to speak to the motion put forward by Senator Hume. And let me just say for the record, despite the great confusion that's trying to be created and whipped up, drummed up by those in opposition, our policy position hasn't changed since we arrived in government. We support responsible cost of living relief because Australians need that, and they need us as our government to respond to them. And we will focus on multinational tax avoidance in order to improve the budget bottom line and improve the outcomes for Australia, for our national economy and for the benefit of all Australians. Now, we'll do this in a calm, measured and considered way. And that is the way in which the Treasurer, Mr Chalmers, has been talking to the Australian people. And by his careful action, his careful words, his considered government, not the chaos, panic, deception and lies that have been the hallmark of the last 10 years, Treasurer Chalmers has taken action to ensure that we've maintained our AAA credit rating, and the rating agencies acknowledge that Labor's budget, the first one in October last year, did not add to inflation. Now, the Albanese government has already passed a series of measures to improve the household budgets of everyday Australians who expect their government to respond. And that's what we've done. We've focused on responsible cost of living relief. And that's the kind of relief that doesn't put extra pressure on inflation.